English settlers explored Jamestown, encountered hostile natives and other hardships. They exchanged captives, gunfire, and the girl Pocahontas. King James I of England gave charter to the Virginia Company in 1606 because he wanted to spread the English religion and compete with other nations that were claiming land abroad. He gave the colonists three goals: find gold, find routes to the South Sea, and find the lost colony of Roanoke. Captain Charles Newport led the Susan Constant that set out that December with 105 passengers. They were headed to the James River. Settlers were anticipating Native American violence. When they landed, they took all their muskets and put them aside to show to the Indians that they meant no harm. However, the Indians did not see this as a peace offering. The Powhatan tribe had bows that had a 112-pound draw and could fire 10 times faster than a musket. These bows, also known as longbows, were about 6 to 5 feet in length, with a string that was made out of animal intestines. The arrow was a wooden shaft with turkey fleshings that had a point that was either a bone or stone in shape of a triangle. Compared to the old bows, there are now new bows that have wheels, also known as cams. The bows that the natives used were used for running and taking down prey. The compound bows that we have today are used for standing and aiming, not moving. It was a very deadly weapon, especially in the hands of a Powhatan with a lifetime of experience with using the bow. The musket that the English used was a matchlock musket. Matchlock musket had a lit string, and when the trigger was pulled, the string ignites gunpowder. So, anticipating violence, the settlers had put their weapons aside when the Susan Constant landed at the base of the James River. They got off onto the bay and started to pant for gold. Despite their efforts to make peace with the Powhatans ambushed them anyway. The settlers then decided to build a fort that was near the river and that would provide protection from the Powhatans. However, the area that they decided to build their fort was mosquito infested and diseases like malaria spread, killing most of the settlers. Soon a councilman named John Smith took up leadership of the colony and began trading with the Powhatan tribe. They traded English gems and minerals for food and supplies. Captain John Smith and his men followed his saying, "Those who will not work shall not eat." Later, John Smith was severely injured by burning gunpowder. He returned to England and never went back to Virginia. However, he gave a lot of support to the colonies until he died in 1610. Shortly after John Smith left for England, the colonists went through a starving time. During this time, there was a drought, and most of the colonists died of dehydration, starvation, and diseases. In the spring of 1610, the colonists agreed to abandon Jamestown. But the next day, the second charter that left England arrived with more settlers and supplies. The new government was led by Thomas West. The English moved into Indian territory, and the Powhatans soon started to fight with the settlers. The Powhatans captured English men when they tried to bargain with them. The chief's daughter, Pocahontas, had been conspiring with the colonists. Pocahontas had warned John Smith about her father and how he planned to kill him. Samuel Argall captured Pocahontas while she was sitting on the bay in 1613. During her captivity, she was treated well. The Englishmen were waiting for their guns and captives to be released from Chief Powhatan to exchange. Pocahontas was held captive for months. During this time, the men were mining and manufacturing. In 1613, a settler named John Rolfe found the cash crop of tobacco. It sold all over England and the colonists realized that this crop would save the colony from the economic troubles. They realized the more land, and the more workers, the more tobacco, the more profit. This is why they brought the first African slaves into the New World in 1619. The first African slaves would be granted their freedom after 7 years of service. This means that they weren't exactly slaves, but mostly servants that were forced to work under harsh conditions. John Rolfe married Pocahontas in 1614, and with this, it ended the conflict between the Powhatans and the English settlers. Pocahontas changed her Baptist name, Rebecca, and took on the last name Rolfe. They had a child and went over to England. King James accoladed her for her help with the colony. In 1617, Pocahontas died in England. In conclusion, the Jamestown settlement was granted charter in 1606. The men went seeking gold and a trade passage. They instead encountered diseases, Indians, and a severe winter and a deadly drought. If it wasn't for John Smith, John Rolfe, and Pocahontas, the colonists probably wouldn't have survived. They exchanged jewels, food, and prisoners for Powhatan. All in all, the settlers of Jamestown did a lot of exploration, encounter, and exchange.